You'll find as many opinions on how to varnish as you'll find boat builders. What I'm going to show you is how I do it, and I promise you it'll be a pretty finish. The first trick is to sterilize your work area. Any dust in the air is almost guaranteed to end up in your varnish. A broom won't get all the dust, so I'll mop the floor around the kayak. Good enough. Next, I wipe down the hull with lacquer thinner. That was cool. Want to see that again? Wow! Again, there are a variety of elixirs for wiping down the hull. This is just what works for me. When the hull is completely dry, we're ready to go. The hull is upside down on the horses. I've seen various schemes for varnishing the entire kayak, deck, and hull at the same time. But in my experience, you can varnish the hull up to the shear, then varnish the deck in a separate operation. The seam in the varnish isn't noticeable. At CLC, we use high-quality marine polyurethanes. The varnish should be dispensed into a plastic cup. Don't dip out of the varnish can itself. You'll notice I'm using a disposable foam brush. You need to apply the varnish in very thin coats to avoid runs, and these foam brushes seem ideal for applying thin, even coats. I use a very specific pattern for applying the varnish. First, vertical strokes to get the varnish onto the hull. Then, horizontal strokes to even it out. Immediately start the next section with vertical strokes, and with horizontal strokes, maintain your wet edge. How much varnish you apply in each patch depends upon the temperature. It's pretty hot in this garage, so I'm only proceeding 12 or 14 inches with each patch. Go too far, and you'll get lines where you've lost your wet edge between each patch. Okay, my first coat has dried. Between coats, I'm going to wet sand the varnish with 400 grit paper. Wet sanding allows you to use very fine paper. Used dry, 400 grit would fill up instantly. To wet sand, just keep a bucket of clean water under the boat and dip your sanding block from time to time. We want a total of 5 coats of varnish all around the hull, so we'll be going through this process every night for the next week or so, about an hour each night. Well, 5 coats, here it is. Looks pretty glossy. You know, I've built a lot of kayaks, but I've never gotten tired of that nice shape and that varnished mahogany.